Professor Dr. K. Sankran is the director of Justice K.S. Hegde Institute of Management, NITTE. He is BTech honors from IIT Kharagpur, PGDM from IIM Bangalore. He has done PhD from Kent State University, USA. Professor Dr. Sankran has several years of academic experience in India, US, UK, Middle East, and East Asia. He started his career with Tata's. He has several years of experience in management, consulting, and project management. Dr. Sankran has widely published his articles in highly rated international journals such as Strategic Management Journal and Journal of Marketing Management, and many others. Currently, he is researching in the area of higher education governance and andragogy. Welcome, Dr. Sankran, on our show. Dr. Sankran, you have heard what Dr. Raijada and what Professor Dr. Mohanlal Agrawal has mentioned. Both are of the same view that the quality of the research in India is not of international standard. Dr. Raijada's view was that the quality has gone down, but Professor Dr. Mohanlal Agrawal says it was never up, so the question of going down is not there. And according to Dr. Raijada, there are lots of problems in India. The first thing is about the funding. And he has given the statistics about it, which you have already heard. And Dr. Mohan Agrawal says that we have to compare with China, and he has given those statistics. And he has given new suggestions about this new education policy 2020. And he says until unless those things are not incorporated properly, and until unless we will not reduce the time of 2.5 years in the research, we will not achieve what we have to achieve internationally. Now, you are director of a deemed university. And in my initial remarks, I have mentioned something about the deemed university. I will not stand corrected, but I say that these are the perceptions, these are the feelings. But definitely now we would like to know from your side what you say, Dr. Sankran, the importance of research in India. Professor Dr. K. Sankran, please.
Thank you very much, Mr. Goel. Indeed, pleasure to meet you over here. I haven't met you personally, but I have heard a lot about you and your work. Somehow you are connected to Mangalore, and I'm very close to Mangalore right now. A very, very hearty hello to all the other panelists. I think I had met Dr. Mohan Agrawal. Not I think, I met him when I used to be in IMI. I used to teach in IMI in Delhi, and there was an occasion, and I was particularly impressed with one of your presentations, and we had a conversation, a very, very enlightened conversation. There is considerable amount of interesting work that's being done by everybody here. Dr. Kurian is doing some wonderful work here. Again, I haven't met you, sir, but I know, he's very closely related to the ecosystem of education in this part of the country. The first time I'm meeting Raizada, and my appreciation to all the people in Election Commission is one of those institutions we all greatly respect. I'm going to change my sense of what I'm going to talk after hearing the two speakers here. My point will be more about social science research. So please pardon me. That I include management also. Management can take very, very eclectically from different areas. And I think it's more non-technical issue, though. There has to be a great appreciation for technical matters in terms of getting to do things, in terms of asking how things are done. But when it comes to the fundamental question of why, which is what actually research to me is about, that's why I gravitate from engineering to management and pedagogy and you could say philosophy of education. So I'm going to restrict myself to social science. And I'm going to quickly come. Mr. Goel has given only 10 minutes, so I will try to finish it within 10 minutes. The time now is 11:12. So first of all, I don't think there's a problem of resource in our country when it comes to social science research. The problem is we consider hard stuff to be resources. So whenever there is an inspection, I'm going to be very critical, and I'm being critical because I'm so bullish about India and Indians and our culture, and I'm also very, very inclusive, being able to, I have taught people from all continents. I even taught in Hong Kong a few years ago in the evening MBA program when I was in Strathclyde. So I'm very, very bullish about the Indian ability to be really on the run, on the go. So I'm going to be very critical right now. So I think it's not a problem of resource. It's a problem of looking at hard things in resource. So if you take a typical great university in United States, for instance, and there are a lot of things wrong with America, but then in this respect, you will find the most prominent building is really housing the library. In India, including the most well-funded institutions in our country, I was fortunate to attend some of the best. You will find the most important building is administrative building. So now my sense about our country is we are not putting resource on the intangible. And that's very, very obvious. I don't want to get onto this too much because there are too many points. Second thing is we had a culture of expediency. So we have forgotten our sense of Vidya, how knowledge can deliver us. And we have really gone into a culture of expediency. One thing that comes across in education, with due respects to all the professionals, I'm also a professional, management can be quasi-professional. We find that we have a lot of things for, medicine, law, management, engineering, but we gave very little importance to humanities. Humanities is about creating happiness for self and creating happiness for others and creating a culture where all stakeholders are taken care of. Now, all the great things in humanities have been already talked about. It doesn't require too much to say that, we should follow stakeholderism. We need to be very, very serious about it. And we have to stop, having platitude like students are customers. Student is not a customer, he's an accolade, but an amazing person. The student is really kind of an extended family, especially from an Indian perspective. And sometimes we are not able to follow it, but then we should be happy to say, yeah, I made a mistake. And, this is what I would like to. So the mind and body cannot go exactly, simultaneously in the same fashion as Western materialism would have it. Mind is superior to body and mind is ahead of the body. Teaching and research are not very, very different. And I'm going to defend private universities, not because I'm in a private university, but because I chose to be in the private university when I came back to India with a very good degree. And all these institutes of eminence were willing to they had given me appointment letters. But I thought it's important to, really do some serious work. So I went and joined SP Jain, which was so much, it was not as eminent as it is today. So what I think, what we have done is we have actually kind of said, research is elitist. Now, this is the time to change that and kind of have a granular look at private universities. And I'm 100% certain in the next few years, the new universities that are coming up, as well as some of the ones that are aspiring to be, in that league, is going to take a march over others. It's already started. I know several of my friends' children who are going to some of these new universities and paying exorbitant prices. Of course, they are a bit expensive, but I think in the long run, there's going to be a leveling that is going to happen, wherein private universities, surely because of their enterprising attitude and non-elitism and embracing true India, which is not happened fully, but is happening in small places. I don't want to, pat my own back and talk about things, but then this is going to happen. So NEP is going to be a huge leveler. So I'm really saying that private universities should be graded granularly and looked at for their quality. And also we should look at whenever we talk about quality, we should also look at what is the denominator, which is expenditure that is spent on what is being done. Now, that doesn't mean that we should compromise on quality. I think another very, very big problem is in our country, there is no governance of education. So I've been very critical and I have written about this, and people in positions of power has been looking at me and saying that, yeah, there is some sense this guy is saying. So I got some very, very worthy invitations to talk about these things with people who really matter in our country. I think accreditation is not accreditation in our country, it's inspection. Accreditation requires mentoring, long years of mentoring by somebody who is extremely committed in a very, very ethical and in a knowledge-oriented way to be saying that this person or this institution is ready for accreditation. It's a process. And then the visiting team comes and the visiting team actually is in opposition with the mentor. So structurally, the Westerners are fond of, kind of creating these tensions. They say these tensions will ensure ethicality. Fair enough. I mean, it may be true for the Western world, unlike the Japanese, for instance. Now, India is somewhere in between. I've done some research in this also. But the point I'm trying to say is accreditation is not accreditation because there's no mentoring. It is not process oriented. And there is no tension between the visiting team and the mentor. Actually, this tension is important so that, you're not tied. Your tongue is not tied to give the truth to the visiting team. That's one, and that's being corrected because, in fact, I'm writing certain things on this also. Fortunately, there is some listening that's going on. I'm just hoping that accreditation will be truly accreditation, because the whole idea is self-organization. That means, as a group of academics, we are going to actually sit down and do things for ourselves. But then we have to be extremely, extremely accountable to society. But the society doesn't quite have the time to go into the depth of pedagogy and andragogy and so on. Therefore, it is important that we actually show results through, a very, very open communication with the society through whatever means. I mean, that's where we need to have a lot of new thinking, how it can be done. So self-organization, self-regulation is part of the understanding of accreditation, because power and money cannot really dictate what should be done by people of knowledge. And I'm not saying that because I feel superior, but I gravitated to this after giving up a lot in terms of money and power. And I think you should grant me this, this indulgence. So that's and the last one is we are to be extremely tolerant with youngsters who are coming up, young researchers, but we should be extremely intolerant, if I may. We should be extremely careful about plagiarism, corruptions, etc. That was also mentioned earlier by Dr. Mohan Agrawal, and also by Dr. Raizada. He was talking about being upright in these areas. Knowledge field is the most sensitive to these things because we perpetrate the same thing. If you get a bridge, instead of 100 crores, if you spend 120 crores because of corruption, the kind of it ends there. It might happen, but in education, it's a double whammy. It requires more money, and also the quality goes down substantially without being watched by others. When a bridge falls, we know, yeah, there is corruption. But in knowledge, it's very difficult to point a finger. So it has to be self-regulated, and there are enough people in this country who can uphold these things, provided our leadership is truly, truly for having people with integrity. I go to the class and I'm reasonably good in my subject. I'm pretty good actually, but I realize that the most important thing is fairness. The most important thing is humility, to say that I don't know. Sometimes feign ignorance so that my student really rises up and starts doing things. So this pedagogy and andragogy are such important things. We can talk about it later. It's the most difficult thing I can tell you. I was in project management. I was in management consultancy. I was in sales for some time. Teaching is extremely, extremely complex because there's head and the heart in it. And this teaching has to translate to our own seeking truth, which was mentioned by Mr. Goel earlier. So especially in social science, it's rediscovering, it's researching for, the nuggets of wisdom, which have already been handed to us by all the great religions, the early proponents. So it's basically rediscovering and making it part of our DNA. So that's what we need to do. You don't need, anything else other than really, really serious academics who also are respectful of society and say that I'm going to learn from anything. And that's what Indian culture is. So you learn from, an elephant god sitting on a mice or, a mouse. And here you are, so these kind of iconic things, or these kind of mythologies which exist in all cultures of the world, all these things are important now. So what I'm trying to say is we need to redefine what we are doing in social science research and not have this physics envy and move on to not purely empirical work, but also very, very strong conceptual work followed by empirical work. So I think I've finished about 10 minutes. Have given me 12 minutes. So I'll just say 3 things that can be done in our country. One, NEP should be taken as a directive principle for higher education. There are lots of things which are not there. It's impossible to put more than a certain amount of things. But I think it's a bit discursive, the first draft. But I think the intentions are very, very clear. And it's talking about a lot about autonomy. I searched for the word autonomy. I did some content analysis. About 200 times, more than 200 times the word autonomy comes. And autonomy is basically ingrained into the Indian psyche. For instance, we have so many languages, we have so many religions. It's all about governing yourself. So we have forgotten the difference between law and justice, from act and jurisprudence. We have lost the ability to understand these things because we've been so controlled. And yet these controls don't work because culturally we are a free people. So I think we need to go for self-organization. That's my first point. And there are many, many different ways of doing this, though it may appear difficult if you just go by the habits of the past of the last 70 years. We can talk about this. And I have checked it out with my students, my colleagues, and it's worked. Second thing is we need to understand social entrepreneurship. Entrepreneurship is, in education, there is entrepreneurship possible. And I've discussed this with a lot of people. They just don't think people in education are for social entrepreneurial reasons. So we need to have the right people who would be actually managing education and the right kind of impetus given through governance rather than direct regulation. I can go about this. Last 7 years, I've been researching this area. I can really say regulations are very, very, very like this. I stopped teaching classes for my students because I have an external exam with an external paper. And I'll be very, very dishonest to them, or rather unfair to them, if I have to teach. So I don't teach directly my subjects. It's pretty bad in the university system, which I discovered only 7 years ago in my 50s, kind of a thing. So these regulations are really, and the public universities are not under the fetters, and I'm very happy, and I'm a beneficiary of that. And I had, great teachers teaching me at IIM Bangalore who were very, very different in their approaches. One person will not have an exam, another person will have an exam. Both were beneficial to me. So that is, self-order, social entrepreneurship, and a new leadership. A new leadership where we say co-creation. The industry is talking about co-creation. I was in industry for 10 years. Why Paulo Freire talks about this. Co-creation. All the nice stuff that the industry says today have been told by some great thinker in the past. So knowledge management people, I think the IT fellows are doing so well, and I'm so happy for them. A lot of my colleagues and a lot of my, their children, my own old students, they're all doing so well because we have that knowledge orientation. It has to come to the university. Ye chalega, wo bhi chalega. That is true, because that's the whole idea about education, is to know when to say X or Y. But actually, the Western idea of science, where discrimination, and I'm very happy about these classifications and taxonomies, where you follow the principle of mutually exhaustive, mutually exclusive, collectively exhaustive principle. That doesn't hold in social science. We are trying to fit that in, and we have all kinds of empirical studies which are pretty shallow. I'm sorry to say this. So I think, I don't know about science really, but I think social science research, it's the best is being written by our forefathers and some, contrarian people like Kumaraswamy or Dharampal, or now we have, Sanyal, for instance, talking about history, or to some extent Shashi Tharoor. And these are not based on empirical work. It's about knowing, understanding the deeper sense, or Pavan Verma and so on. And so many new people are there emerging today. So to me, that is research, and that should be the starting point for any empirical work. With due respect to empirical work, I would say that. And I finished 13 minutes. I think I've overshot my time of a little bit more. Thank you very much. And we'll be very happy to take this conversation further. Listen to that.
Thank you very much, Dr. Shankaran, for giving your very forceful remarks, or you can say about the research in India. And according to Dr. Shankaran, there is no dearth of funds. He says funds are no problem, but the problem is the application of funds. And he has given an example that in India, if you go to any of the university, you will not find good building for the library, but you will find a very fancy building for the administrative block. While in other countries, if you go, the main emphasis on library, it means they give the value for the education. They care for the education. They are not caring only for the showmanship of the university. And then he says about the accreditation system. He says this is wrong because they are just like an inspector thing. What I understood from his talks is that it is like Inspector Raj. They are coming, checking, and you have to fulfill those things without, they are not checking the hard work, the real knowledge-based work in the college or the university. They are just checking how many rooms, how many ACs. If I'm, is it correct, Dr. Shankaran, what I'm saying? They are doing the checking which an inspector is doing, not the checking or the evaluating the knowledge what the university is giving or the college is giving to the student and the students. Yes, Dr. Shankaran,
Yes,
you
one
want to
very
say?
good point. Actually,
Yeah.
they check what has happened in the past, which can be represented on paper. While accreditation is about the aspirations set by the institution for future and the steps that are being taken and the ability to assess that aspiration, which cannot come empirically because it's of the future, and to encourage that. So futurity is missing in this accreditation, it is missing. So structurally and results wise, it's not accreditation that's happening, and this has been admitted in NEP.
Because Dr. Shankaran, I will give you an example. Recently, I will not name the institute, the AICT team came and they inspected, and they were not talking about the quality of education, which is a very, very prime educational institution. I will not take the name, but what they were thinking, what they were pointing out, you are not having a lift. Now it's a 3-story or 2-story building. You should have this room size is bit small. It should be more. While this building was constructed years and years ago.
That's
now,
right.
and they said, now we are reducing your intake of students by 50%.
Yes, sir.
Now, this is, if these things are going on, how the importance of, we are talking of research, I said even the basic amenities, basic things, where they are actually working like a same government inspector Raj, whether it's a district supply officer or any other officer who is coming, and they are terrorizing the institutions. Some cases I will not say, but yes, there are corruption also involved in these types of things. But what Dr. Shankaran says, he says we have to give more emphasis on the knowledge, and we must provide that knowledge. We must appreciate those things. And he says, whatsoever anybody will say, but the private universities, if they are giving proper free hand, they can show the results because the entrepreneurship is there. While in the public universities, the government universities, although there are very good, but still these private universities, and which he has mentioned that now there's some universities which has come out, they are doing very, very good work. And according to him, the time is not far when Indian standard of education will be far high. But all depends how the leadership works, and they should also have the team of those who are really knowledgeable person. Thank you very much, Dr. Shankaran. Although I can also admit very frankly, what you have said are very, very, very clear, very a message which is required today as far as the research is concerned. And not only research, I will say even from the nursery schools to the university level or to the research, because everywhere we find these types of problems which are having, and that is what is required today. Thank you very much, Dr. Shankaran, for giving your views.